searching for the best search engine, you already found it in Luxel. Luxel, uncensored results, filtering options for your political preferences, one-click data clearing on the app, browser extensions available, and it's free. Luxel, that's LUXXLE.com. We the People of Cape County meets every Tuesday at 5 p.m. at Delmonico's in Jackson, Missouri. We the People is taking a break for the Christmas holiday until January 2nd. They will be back on January 2nd with a guest speaker. I'll tell you more about that at the end of today's episode. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show. And I am excited about this particular show. I have a wonderful guest on with me, and I want you to learn a little bit about her. Her name, first of all, is Kinyinna Stevenson. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're going to jump in, and you're going to find out really fast why I wanted her on this show at this time. Kinyinna, welcome to the Adrienne Ross Show.
Thank you, Adrienne. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here, and I want you to tell those who are watching and those who are listening, who is Kinyinna Stevenson?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? So my name is Kinyinna. I was born and raised in Portageville. I went to high school in New Madrid, where I graduated. And after that, I went to the military. So I'm a veteran. I did 8 years in the Army Reserves.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I have I birthed 3 children. I have a son who passed away in 2017, but I have 2 wonderful children one that I take care of who's special needs, and then I have my daughter who's 27 now with 2 grandkids.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, first of all, you just look too young to be a grandmama.
Oh God.
Do you hear that a lot?
Yes, I don't know why.
I
feel
you feel it? You feel it? Well, you might feel it because of all the stuff you've done. You are, as you said, a mother, a grandmother. You are a veteran. I got to stop right here and say thank you for your service. 8 years in the military.
Yes.
I'm just going to do it because, we're kind of off the cuff here at the Adrienne Ross Show. What drew you to the military?
Actually having my 2 children at an early age. Before graduating high school, I was already on my 2nd child. So I knew that I had to do something because the environment that I was in was not healthy. So I figured, okay, how do I get out of this situation? And so the military seemed like a better option for me.
Okay. Did it bring the transformation you expected?
It actually did. Growth, a lot of maturing, and actually gave me avenues, means to make money, means to be creative, you know what I mean? Because where I was raised, where I was in New Madrid,
and we're talking, guys, to those of you who are not in this area, we're talking Missouri. We're talking
New Madrid, Missouri.
Yes.
So in the Boot Hill.
In the Boot Hill, what does that mean for those of us who don't know? I mean, I'm here, but I'm in Missouri, but I'm from New York, and I don't know what's the Boot Hill.
So the shape of the state, Missouri, at the very bottom, there's a little hill. We consider that the Boot Hill of Missouri. Okay. So that's where New Madrid, Missouri is.
All right. So the military afforded opportunities for you. I don't think you mentioned you're also an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So
tell us about that.
Yeah, so I received my cosmetology and barbering license. I guess I was 21, 22 years old. And so I've been doing it ever since. So that's basically what I do now. I'm an entrepreneur. I do hair. And so that's it.
That's wonderful. But that is not it. You say that's it. That's not it. Because the reason why I wanted Kinyinna on the show today is because she hosts what has become an annual women's conference at the beginning of the year. And when I say at the beginning, I mean day 1, January 1st of the year, a women's empowerment conference. Yes. What I'd like you to tell everyone, because I want as many people in this area as possible to come to this conference. But what I want to know is overall, we'll get to this specific one, but overall, how was this conference birthed? How did you get the vision for doing something like this, a women's conference?
You know, Adrienne, actually, I look back at my life and I look at all the trials and tribulations that I've been through. And so when I put it all together, I realized that there was nothing for me to nothing, an avenue for me to reach out to get the help that I needed. And so I figured a women's conference was just needed in this area. And I've been to Dallas, I've been to Atlanta, different conferences that TD Jakes have had. And it inspired me to try to do something on a lower level, of course. But just to see if we can offer something like that to the ladies around here, because it's very, very helpful.
So you just said one day, I'm going to do this conference, and then you just jumped to planning, or did you kind of feel people out to see who might be interested if you did this, or what?
I didn't feel anybody out. I said, God help me, because
Wow.
because the feeling that I got when I went to those conferences, I knew so many people around here in Cape Girardeau, which is where I am now. I knew that a lot of them couldn't afford to go, or just couldn't fathom themselves leaving this area for something like that, you know? So, but when I got there, I was so inspired every time that I went almost every year that TD Jakes have had the Woman Thou Art Loosed conference, which is really my inspiration. Yeah.
Really?
So that's kind of where I just said, I'm
so
just
you
gonna do
didn't
it.
test the waters. You just said, it just popped into your head and you said, I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah. And the first year we did it, honestly, it was like 2 months before the first. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it was a quick I'm doing it. And they were like, don't do it on the first. You're not gonna have enough time. And I was like, I'm doing it anyway. Whoever shows up is gonna show up. And so our attendees we had a great outcome, and I didn't expect.
How many years have you done this now?
This is the third one coming up.
This will be the third one. When you started it, did you anticipate doing it annually? Or did you just doing one? That was already.
Yeah.
Okay. So you stepped into something I was going to ask you, because I tend to think the same thing. January 1st, first of all, people been up late on New Year's Eve.
New Year's night.
They've been up late. They kind of chilling on New Year's Day, I would think. They're eating their black eyed peas, and doing their thing. But people have been showing up too.
They have. They have been. Yeah.
Wow. So why January 1st? You could have picked any other time where you didn't even have that thought about, will they show up or not?
Yeah. Yes. So first off, I guess January 1st, because you know how people set those New Year's resolutions and they never fall through with it. We never do. And so I figured
the gym knows all too well.
Yeah. But I really thought that New Year's Day, and because many people was like, well, New Year's is first year, it was on a Saturday. And they thought, nobody's going to show up on a Saturday. They did. And then they said, Sunday, well, not on Sunday because of this reason and that reason. And so I'm just pushing through because people are still showing up. And the fact that it is New Year's Day and people actually want to make a change. We want to make a change. We sometimes have trouble continuing it throughout the year, but we want to make a change. So my thought was, if we did it on New Year's Day, then the more we keep talking about it, people will remember some of the promises that they made themselves on that day. Because that day we do make commitments at the New Year's event.
Feels like there is something about the first of the year that gets people inspired, and it brings hope. Yeah. And so, I mean, and generally people start things somewhere after the new year, but you jumping in on day one.
On day one.
Are you serious, people? Because if you're serious, you're gonna be here, right?
Yes.
All right. So I want to get more into the nitty-gritty of the conference. I'm looking at the flyer for the one that's January 1st, 2024. It says a new year, new relationships.
Yes.
It talks about women's empowerment. First of all, we hear the word empowerment thrown around so much. What are you thinking, and what have you been shaping via your conference that qualifies as empowerment? What does Kinyinna mean with that?
So in my little brain, so my thoughts are that in order for us to continue in this world and make the best of our situations, we
Mhm.
have to have good relationships, right? We have to have healthy relationships. So
Mhm.
that's why it's titled Relationships this year. The first year was trauma and different things,
Mm.
but this year is relationships. Because when I went back and I started thinking about all the things that I've been through in life, most
Mm.
of it started with relationships. Most of it
Yeah.
started with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mother and father relationships,
Mhm.
husband-wife relationships, you know what I mean? Children, you know what I mean? And it's like I didn't experience any of those personal things growing up. So I didn't have a mother that was there in my life. I didn't have a father that was there in my life. I didn't have even my siblings that was there were not close to me, you know? So being in and out of foster care and things like that. So it was just different and difficult for me.
Mm.
So relationships now today is still a bit difficult for me to sustain and just hold on to those relationships. And part of that is my upbringing. So I want to empower people. I want to be empowered myself, you know?
Yeah.
Um, Empowerment to me means trying to help one another make it through the next phase of life, right? And
Mhm.
so there's so many different avenues that we can take, but if we just focus on our relationships one day at a time, then I feel like we can actually grow, you know, grow into some of the other things that
Yeah.
we need, you know.
Your story is so interesting. You already mentioned, where you grew up. You talked about foster care. You mentioned, and I'm so sorry about the loss of a child. You talked about having a special needs child. It's not like your hands have not been full. You know,
Mhm.
there are many people, seriously, Kinyinna, who, having gone through what you've gone through, would say, why do I care about other people? To invest your time, your resources, all of that into helping other people to be empowered. There are people who would say, you know what, I'm just trying to make it. I don't have anything left to give.
Yeah.
How have you avoided that and gotten to the place where you care about other people and not just yourself?
Well, first off, God,
Mm.
God, there's been times where I
Mhm.
did not care about other people because I didn't care about myself, right?
Yes.
Because nobody else cared. So I thought, why am I caring? Just give up. But I think the more that God speaks to me, and he's been speaking to me a lot more than he had in the past, this
Mm.
past year, like
Mm.
he's really telling me and giving, and I'm hearing him speak to me on what's next, what to do.
Mm.
But I think yeah, I have to give it to God. I have
Yeah.
to give it to God.
So he's giving you a heart to care about other people.
Yeah.
We need more of that. It's like me and mine, us four, no more kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And right now times are tough and people are struggling. So kudos for doing this now. I do not doubt that what you bring to people does inspire them and give them hope. And people are looking for, number one, like you said, God,
Mhm.
who brings hope.
Yes.
Okay, so they show up to your conference.
Mhm.
Let's talk about this year.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm saying this because I want people who are in the area, hey, and if you're not, you want to fly in, come on, right?
Come on, you're welcome.
You don't discriminate, right? They don't. So,
Right.
but people who are like, well, how do I know that this is what, fits me? Tell
Mm.
us what they can expect from this particular conference on January 1st, 2024 in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So this year, well, first it starts with dinner. We can't do anything without some food, right?
Oh, that's right.
So the conference starts with the dinner, and after dinner, you can expect live music. We're gonna have a couple of singers that are amazing, and then we have some speakers that last year had a very, very, very good speaker, and this year we have a different speaker. Every year I will have a different speaker, but this year, um, Miss Swan, Prophetess Swan, is going to be our keynote speaker, and she is going to be amazing. I feel like she is she is the one for this year.
Yeah.
So she will be speaking. She will be my last speaker. We have a panel of 6 individuals that will be presenting,
Yeah.
right? So then we also have a couple of vendors.
Mhm.
We have a couple of vendors that'll be out, letting you know what they have to offer to the women. So
Mhm. Mhm.
obviously it's about relationships. So every individual there, every speaker that we have will be speaking from a different view
Ah,
of
okay.
relationships.
So relationships, the overarching, and then
Mhm.
they can take it from a different perspective.
I gave them all specific topics. One is going to speak about relationships with a daughter, mother-daughter relationships. One is going to speak from a spouse, spousal relationships. Another speaking about siblings
Mhm.
from childhood to adulthood and how things are, how you can take that rivalry from a kid. You were her favorite or whatever, and now we're adults, and why are we still acting like that,
Yeah, yeah.
So on the panel this year, we do have two pastors that are part of the panel, and that's
Mhm.
something different for us.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it'll be pretty good.
It's all women in the house.
No, not this year.
All right, tell us some more.
Not
Why
this year.
you veer away from that?
Okay, so just this year, I can't say just this year, but this year for sure, men
Mhm.
are invited. And the reason why is because and we all need to hear men's perspective when it comes to relationships, right? The way
Yeah,
we think about it, they may think about it the different. So I'm interested to know what's their take on certain topics.
that
So,
is so good to hear and so good to know.
mhm.
'Cause I'm thinking women's empowerment, but so they're there and you're hearing their perspective, but still the goal is women's
Women, yes,
empowerment. So you need to
yes,
bring in men who care about that and who are
that's right.
realize that that's the purpose of it.
Hmm.
How interesting. I love that because if a bunch of women, don't get me wrong, we need to hear from, you know, one another,
Hmm.
women to women. That's so important.
Yes.
But if I've done podcasts on being single. I'm single,
Hmm.
and I know some folks who are single who want to be married,
Uh-huh.
and I did a show with all women, single women, and I've done a show with all single men.
Hmm.
And then it's sort of like, well, at some point, the single women and the single men better mix together so that they can
Yeah,
hear,
yeah.
there's a place for that, right?
There is for
Yeah.
sure.
So this will be the third.
Hmm.
So it's a relatively short time that you've done it,
Hmm.
but long enough for you to have learned some things along the way.
Oh
What
yeah,
are some things you have learned from the first one you just jumped into and launched
yeah.
to this one coming up in 2024?
First off, I learned it's a lot of work, but
Yeah, right?
no, first off, I did learn that when women work together, we can accomplish anything, like anything. So building this and going through the motions of putting it together, I guess, I've
Mhm.
had to depend on other women.
Mm.
And remember, I just said relationships are something difficult for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've learned a lot about myself through this experience. And I think people have learned about me things they didn't know before.
Mhm. Yeah,
I can be very strong, but I'm also weak in places, very weak.
yeah.
I'm very soft-hearted, but
Mhm.
I can kind of put that aside and then I'm the boss lady, and that's not always good, but
Yeah.
I've learned a lot just trying to work through this.
Mhm. Have you learned, and I'm only going to ask this because this is probably true of any person who has any leadership bone in their body.
Yeah.
Have you learned, have you mastered, or is it difficult for you to delegate?
Oh, girl. Uh, yes. You
Mhm.
know, yes. It's
Mhm.
very difficult to delegate. And the worst thing for me is keeping my hands out of it after I delegate it.
Okay.
Like, because
You just
I'm
still want
such
to
a
get in it. You still
I
want to
know,
get.
I'm still like, did you do this? Okay, I'll do it, never mind. And really just let the women do what they do because not everybody's going to do it the same way. And I do realize that it still comes out good,
Yeah.
no matter how they do it.
And you know what's so cool about delegating is when people put their hand in it, there's a sense of ownership
Hmm.
that changes
Yeah.
how the whole dynamic. Do you agree?
Yes. Uh-huh. I agree. I agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I like it too. I like it because I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it does
And it
change a
comes
lot.
down to the relationships.
Yep,
Like
yep.
you said. All right, so tell us the logistics of this. Like, is someone who wants to come, how much does it cost? Where exactly is it? What time does it take place? All that information.
Okay, so it's at the Drury Conference Center, Plaza Hotel. I'm not sure of that address,
Mhm.
but it is in Cape Girardeau.
Do I have that address on the flyer? I have it.
You have the flyer?
Yes, I have it. So it is 3351 Percy Drive
Mercy
in
Drive.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Okay, keep
Yep.
going.
So it starts at 3 p.m. We're going to start with dinner. The doors will open at 2:30. It is $20 for to enter. The tickets are. And then it's 25 at the door. So
Okay.
the way you get the $20 is just Cash App Us Unselfish, and that's also on the flyer.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, and that's about it. This year we are doing t-shirts. So if you would like to wear a t-shirt with everyone else, the t-shirts are $20. I
Mhm.
actually just got the designs finished today. On the designs, it's New You 2024,
All
Women's
right.
Empowerment. So yeah, it's
All
pretty,
right.
it's pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
is cool. Now,
Yeah.
that's interesting because I noticed on the flyer it said t-shirts and jeans.
Mhm.
Was it last year when you was like all decked out and was it last year? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so what was there a reason for the shift or you just wanted to mix it up?
I just want to mix it up this year since men are going to be there. I thought, okay, let's just relax a little more.
Yeah.
And I thought the t-shirt and jeans would be perfect. So,
Excellent. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm imagining you're excited.
I am excited. I'm excited. Yeah.
Does it make you nervous?
I was nervous about this podcast.
And you, oh please, girl, you're natural. So
No.
you're natural. So let me ask you this. At the end of the night, and how long do you expect that night to be? Starts at
Three,
3.
3.5 hours.
Okay. So at the end of that night, Kinyinna, how when you assess it all, because I know you're a thinker,
Yes.
you're a thinker. When you assess it, how will Kinyinna determine if this Women's Empowerment Conference, January 1st, 2024, was a success? How are you measuring that?
As many people that come by me and say, thank God you did this. And
Mm.
and can't are we still gonna do it next year? Like what do we have to look forward to next year? And especially when my brain hasn't even went to next year. But then
Right.
immediately I start thinking of titles for next year.
Mm.
It's just the way it happens. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's wonderful. So
Yeah.
the feedback is so
Mhm.
important. I think about that sometimes with pastors. You mentioned having some pastors there. I think about that because they get up week after week after week at times and
Mhm.
they're speaking, and we're so used to them doing it. We just kind of sit at the table and just
Yeah.
kind of eat, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, they need that too. They
They
need that
do.
feedback. And it's
They
so
do.
important. And so when we appreciate what you do, when they appreciate, and I believe they probably they've been telling you that. They've been telling
Yes.
you that it's been a
Yeah, they're excited.
all right. So that's wonderful. All right. So is there anything that you want to leave everyone with as we move into, because time is it's today
It's here.
is
Yeah.
it's
Got
close
14 days
to,
left.
yeah, the day of this recording we got like have a lot of time. It's
Yeah.
moving, this whole year's moving fast. So last, your pitch, so to speak, to
Hmm.
truly encourage people, because I know there are people who are there's some who are gonna go, well, I don't have anybody else to go with, or
Mm.
I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if there's, what's your last encouragement for people to come out to this empowerment conference?
Okay, so first, so I started a nonprofit that I'm still continuing to work on. So it's still in the making, not really quite done, but it's called the Us Unselfish Initiative. And it
Mhm.
is to empower people in general, not just women, but it's women, men, children, teenagers, all walks of life, elderly. And one of the things that I want to do with that is to try to make sure that I'm helping the community as much as I can, that's mentoring, if that's dropping off meals to elderly, whatever it takes. So
Mhm.
this is just a part of my dream or my goal, my vision.
Yes.
And so I want to focus on women's health. I want to focus on the financial needs of everyone, mental health, a big one, mental health. We're also going to have counselors that will be on the board, on the panel,
Mhm.
on the first as well. So the therapist counselors will be able to answer questions as well,
Yeah.
I want to work on people's spiritual cultural, because one of my big things is being diverse. If people think because you're Caucasian, oh, this is a young, African American lady, I probably shouldn't be there. Believe me, there's going to be half and half of us because that's kind
Yeah.
of my thing. I want it very diverse. So
Yes.
my panel is diverse. My speakers, you will see it's diversity all the way through the entire night. So it will be full of different types of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that everybody comes out because we need to be fed. We need to be spiritually uplifted. We need to be empowered, to just go on to the next level. Life is not easy. And
No.
I can definitely tell you I've had my share of ups and downs. And the one thing, it makes me feel good to know that if in any way that I can help someone, maybe they're down in whatever area that we're speaking about, whatever the topic is, if I have uplifted them and empowered them to keep moving forward, I did it. That's all we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. I can't encourage people enough to, especially the local people, of course, to check this out. I have posted the flyer on social media. I will do that again, but the price is certainly right,
Yeah.
and you got your t-shirt you can get, you throw your jeans on, you come out, you eat, you fellowship, you dive into relationship with people, which is the theme, and you allow yourself to receive, like you said, to be fed. So I'm encouraging everyone to jump on board. Now, Kinyinna, you already gave they're going to pay via Cash App.
Cash App.
Cash App. Is that the only way they're able to pay for this?
Well, I guess they could PayPal, but I've been sticking to Cash App because that just made it so much easier for us to keep track of, what size t-shirts. So if you Cash App $20 for a t-shirt, make sure you just put the size on there and how many you're Cash Apping for. So.
And listen, those who are around here, if you say, I don't do Cash App, I don't know Cash App, listen, reach out to me and we can make sure we get it done. And make sure that you're there. So we don't want the financial aspect to be a problem for anybody. So yeah, but we do want you to be empowered and to come out to this annual conference that Kinyinna is investing into you and pouring into this community, because it's us unselfish.
Yes.
Kinyinna, thank you so much for being a guest on the Adrienne Ross Show. I wish you the best with this conference and all that you have going on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. God bless you.
Same to you. Right. Good night.
I'm so glad I was able to introduce you to Kinyinna Stevenson and that you were able to hear from her yourself about this conference coming up and about her vision, what it is she pours herself into. Now, I could have told you all about her. I could have told you about the conference, but there's something about hearing from the visionary herself. So I'm going to be sure to put some information in the show notes so that you, again, know how you can pay to get your ticket to this empowerment conference. Hey, who doesn't need to hear more about relationships and about moving forward and about new beginnings and all of the things that she talked to us about? So make sure you check out the show notes so that you can jump on board. Now, as I wind down, I want to remind you that I need you to subscribe on the podcast platforms. I need you to go to YouTube, The Adrienne Ross Show, and to subscribe. Be sure when you're checking out the show on the various platforms that you leave a rating and leave a review. It is so very, very helpful. Go to my Substack. I don't just speak and interview other people. I also write at AdrienneRoss.substack.com. AdrienneRoss.substack.com. Check it out and subscribe and tell your friends, and make sure you go to thebmgnetwork.com and check out the other podcasters who are part of this amazing team. We are engaging, enlightening, informative, and yes, entertaining. So check that out. All right. And as a reminder, We the People will be back after the Christmas break on January 2nd. The guest will be Wes Scroggins. His topic is abortion really banned in Missouri? You don't want to miss that on January 2nd, 5 o'clock p.m. at Delmonico's in Jackson, Missouri. And be sure to check out the We the People website at www.wethepeopleofmissouri.org. Have a question? Want to leave a message? Then email We the People of Cape County at wtpcapecountymo@gmail.com. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Adrienne Ross Show. I will catch you next time. God willing, God bless you abundantly.